Welcome to the Alternate History channel, where we explore fascinating what-if scenarios that could have changed the course of history. In this episode, we will delve into a pivotal moment in world history, the American Revolution. What if the revolution failed and the United States of America never came to be? How would this have impacted the history of North America and the world at large? Join us as we explore this intriguing alternate history scenario and consider the ripple effects that would have reverberated throughout the centuries. But before we dive into the story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now let's get started. The year is 1776, and the 13 colonies have been in a state of rebellion against Great Britain for over a year. The Continental Army, led by George Washington, has suffered a string of devastating losses, and their supplies are dwindling. The British, with their superior military and resources, seem to have the upper hand. In the summer of 1776, the Continental Congress met in Philadelphia to draft a document that would declare their independence from Great Britain. But as the British closed in on the city, the Continental Army was forced to retreat, and the document was never signed. Without a declaration of independence, the British were able to crush the rebellion. The Continental Army was defeated, and George Washington was captured and executed as a traitor. The leaders of the rebellion were rounded up and imprisoned, and the 13 colonies remained under British rule. The impact of this failure was felt not just in North America, but throughout the world. The ideals of liberty and democracy that had inspired the American Revolution were dealt a crushing blow, and the British Empire continued to expand its influence around the globe. In the years that followed, the British Empire became the dominant superpower of the world, controlling vast territories in North America, India, Africa, and Asia. The ideals of democracy and human rights were suppressed, and the colonies were ruled with an iron fist. The effects of this failure were also felt in the United States, which never came into being. The continent remained divided into separate British colonies, with no unifying force to bring them together. The ideas of democracy and individual rights never took root, and the legacy of slavery and oppression continued for generations. As the years went by, the relationship between Great Britain and its North American colonies continued to deteriorate. More taxes and regulations were imposed, leading to increased resentment and rebellion. However, without the leadership and coordination of the Continental Congress, the rebellions were largely localized and disorganized. The British military, emboldened by their successes in putting down the rebellions, became increasingly aggressive in their actions. They burned down towns, executed suspected rebels without trial, and imposed even harsher measures to suppress dissent. The colonists were unable to mount an effective resistance, and many fled to neighboring Spanish and French colonies. As the conflict dragged on, the Native American nations that had allied with the British began to push back against the colonists, who were no longer able to rely on the support of the Continental Congress. The British, seeking to maintain their alliances, began to cede more land to the Native Americans, further restricting the colonists' territory and resources. Eventually, the colonists were forced to surrender, and the rebellion was officially crushed. Great Britain imposed even harsher punishments on the rebellious colonists, including forced labor and the confiscation of property. Many were executed as a warning to any future rebels. The failure of the American Revolution had far-reaching consequences. Without the United States as a major world power, the balance of power in Europe shifted. Great Britain became the dominant imperial power, with France and Spain continuing to struggle against its expansion. The ideals of democracy and self-government espoused by the American rebels were discredited, and monarchies around the world used the failure of the revolution as justification for their own repressive policies. In North America, the British maintained control of the colonies and continued to expand their empire. However, without the influx of American ideas and resources, the development of the continent was slowed. The Native American nations, emboldened by their successes against the colonists, were able to maintain their independence and culture for much longer. In the end, the failure of the American Revolution had a profound impact on the course of history. The ideals of liberty and democracy that had been championed by the revolutionaries were silenced, and the world was left to wonder what might have been if the revolution had succeeded. And there you have it, a glimpse into what could have been if the American Revolution failed. The world we live in today would be vastly different, with new nations and power structures emerging. We hope you enjoyed this thought-provoking exploration of alternate history. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating content like this. And let us know in the comments what other alternate histories you'd like to see us cover in the future. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.